welcome back. It's been a little bit, Clack. I know Joe's
been a
not here
while.
with us. Rest in peace.
What else is
Ain't nothing
there?
wrong with him. He's just in Charleston. But, we figured we haven't done a show in a while. We'll hop on. NBA Finals just ended. But how you been?
Been great. How about you?
Pretty good. I didn't expect your answer to be so succinct, so I went to take a sip of my drink, and, got caught lacking. But I thoroughly enjoyed the finals. I had to mute our group chat because I vehemently disagree with a lot of your guys' takes on basketball as a game. But other than that, it was fun.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I think it got to a point where, it worked for whatever game we would both say it was over. It worked. Warriors would come back, so you got to keep on going, and it worked. For me, it worked 3 straight games, and they closed out the series.
Except it didn't work because literally the first game you said that, they ended up losing.
They did?
Yeah, that was the game where I bet like $1 or whatever with Joe that the Warriors would win or something, and then I didn't bet, but it was like 10-2 in the first quarter, and you guys were like, "Oh, the game's over," sadly, and then the Warriors took the lead and were like leading up until the fourth quarter, and then they ended up losing, and you guys are like, "See, I told you."
I mean, it was. I honestly thought when they went down 2-1, it was over. I mean, they were not looking very championship like, through the first 3, and then
I don't know. I kind of disagree though. I think that they put up a good fight in game 3. They lost. That was in Boston. But also game 1, like they blew a huge lead, which is never good, but they were winning and like dominating all game. They blew a fourth quarter lead. So it's like to me, even when they were down 2-1, they were pretty clearly the better team in my opinion. They just had a bad run at the end of one of the games, but
yeah, and then they finally were and they did not close out the final game very well at all. Like there was times in which they're up 22, then they're up like 8. I thought they were really going to have a 22-point blown lead going into game 7, but
right.
Clay was a little inconsistent in that last game, and thankfully Steph had over 30 points and finals MVP. I mean, how about that?
Finally. I'm so happy for him.
His great career. I mean, not that his career's over. I think he's going to get at least one more. But
another championship or MVP?
I think he'll get both.
Ooh, that's bold.
I don't know. I'll take that back. I don't think he'll get another finals MVP because I think if the Warriors dynasty is able to get another one, I think one guess who's – I think it's going to be to a point where they look, oh, who's the one person in all of this who's not won it, which will be Clay, and he's going to get it. I don't see Draymond getting it. Draymond doesn't score enough to get it.
Right.
But, I mean, Draymond's defense was absolutely near perfect the whole series.
He had one really bad game. And I remember it makes me so mad because every time our fellow co-host Joe talks about Draymond Green, he's like, Draymond Green is such a scrub. He's an awful player. And I'm like, just because he doesn't, put up stats doesn't mean he's not good. But it was a really bad night to make that argument because the night that I was trying to defend him was the night he had like 3 points and fouled out and had like 7 turnovers. And that was by far the worst.
Is he a future Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. 2-time defensive player of the year, like 5-time All-Star, 4-time champion. 100%.
Imagine if he could score. Like
right. He would be like a top 20 player of all time if he could score. Like if he put up like 20 points per game.
He does hurt the team by his obsessive. Some of the fouls he commits are completely ridiculous.
Right.
But I mean, if he continues to go on the path he's going, he is a 100%. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right. I think all 3 of them are, like Steph, Clay, and Draymond. I think a more interesting question for you is, do you think Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
I think he is too. I don't think he's first ballot, but I think 4 championships and a Finals MVP, 6th Man of the Year, like couple, or I think he was like a 1 or 2-time All-Star. Like that's.
Yeah. my favorite part about this championship in the end is that Curry did. I'm not gonna say Curry did it on his own because he didn't. Because I mean, you look at guys like Jordan Poole and Clay was good. Andrew Wiggins was very good, but Curry, this core three that's been there for so long, finally won one without KD. I mean, they won one ultimately in the beginning without KD, but they proved that KD was just another pawn in the scheme. It wasn't
right
because of him they did it.
And a lot of people, I think, have compared Steph and KD like throughout their careers because they were interlocked for 3 years, right? But I think that a lot of people are coming around to the Steph might be better than KD now, like realization now, because I mean, you look at Golden State, they've won 4 championships in the last 8 years. But what was the constant, right? It was Steph Curry. It wasn't Kevin Durant. They won a championship before KD. They won 2 with them, and now they won 1 with him gone. So,
and KD didn't even sniff the second round. So I mean,
right, they got swept. They were the only team to get swept.
And KD, one could argue KD this year had on paper as much talent as the Warriors with, well, obviously Kyrie didn't play, but at the same time, I mean, it's not like you can play that card of, he was injured. I mean, he refused to play. And,
right.
KD had the talent and wasn't able to do it. Same with LeBron. And, one thing that's been constant is, the Warriors have been that one constant team is like when they're together and not injured, they win. And, they were banged up the last 2 years and, they got back healthy and look what happens.
I remember how much like last year when they got knocked out of the play-in game, I remember how much people like made fun of Steph Curry for saying, you don't want to see us next year. And then to go and win it in pretty dominating fashion. Like there was no series that was, in my opinion, at pretty much every series, it seemed like they were going to win, It wasn't like there was any question. Maybe the Grizzlies, but even then it's like.
Before we talk about the final, the finals breakdown, what are your thoughts on this whole Ja Morant, like the Grizzlies versus Warriors thing? Like,
it's really funny that you bring that up because I was actually going to ask you the exact same thing. I think that first off, the statement that Ja Morant made way back when was ridiculous in and of itself. He was a third-year player telling a rookie to earn some stripes. But Ja Morant's made like 1 All-Star game and 1 Most Improved Player. It's not like he's some decorated, star. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but they made the playoffs once, and they made it out of the first round once, and he made 1 All-Star team, or maybe 2. But still, it's not like he's some like veteran that's can tell people to earn some stripes. I never got that.
I don't get it either. I mean, everybody like wants this, Grizzlies fans, I guess, when they'll be like, oh, we would have won that series healthy. I mean, you lost game 1 with him healthy on your own floor. Game 2 was a very close game and just came down to the wire. And you were 19-2 without Ja, so I don't think that's a good argument at all. And I mean, I still think like with the Warriors, I still think down 1 piece, they still win games.
Right.
I mean, it depends on who that piece is. I think Draymond is honestly that 1 piece because of his defense that you don't want to lose. But
I mean, I feel like Steph's more important. But
I mean, I agree with that, but I still feel like Clay could take over the point guard role for 1 game if needed.
I think Jordan Poole would be more likely to step into that than Clay.
But I still think, I mean, missing 1 piece, I still think they would be okay. But yeah, Steph's not the one you want to miss because, Steph could have 2 points a game, but him being out there is a nuisance to the other team. I mean, we saw that in Game 5. He did not do very well at all.
Right. And something kind of interesting that, like, I mean, it's been talked about to death, but I see a lot of people going, oh, the Warriors only beat the Grizzlies because Ja Morant got hurt. But, like, the Grizzlies as a team statistically were better this year without Ja Morant. So I don't know if that's a great argument. And also, let me preface this by saying Ja Morant's an amazing player, and this is not a knock on him at all, but that's kind of weird that you're like significantly better without your best player, right? So I don't know.
If he's out there, he's going to go for 50. And I think he's kind of one of like LeBron. He's going to He's gonna know. He's gonna be sure he has the ball the most. He's not. He's not a a share the ball kind of guy like Curry and Chris Paul types. And I feel like sometimes he takes away from the rest of the team, and it's all about Ja. I mean, it's all about Ja when he's in there. That's one thing for sure. And I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think that they have an argument that they would have won that series. I don't think they would have won that series with him in.
And I will say too, for the Grizzlies as a whole, like them doing better without Ja, that's not a bad thing either. That just means they have a really deep team and like are pretty solid and could be contenders for the next couple of years. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing they did better without Ja. But I think that especially because Ja Morant was coming at a bunch of the Warriors players, it was like, dude, your team was better when you weren't on the floor. Like,
exactly.
Come on. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. One last thing I want to ask before we talk about the games individually is, do you think Steph Curry has an argument for the best point guard of all time?
Oh, no doubt. I think he already is there.
You think he's above Magic already?
I think he's close. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily above Magic, but I mean, he's transcended the game like nobody else. I mean, I think him and Magic both have skill sets that the other could not match. But ultimately, in the end, if you're giving prime Steph, prime Magic to lead your team, who do you pick? I pick prime Steph.
I don't know. I think that it's kind of a hard question, right? Because it depends on what you need. But also, Magic Johnson has a little bit like his accolades are a little bit better, right? I looked at he has like 12 All-Stars. Curry has 9, I think. His 5 championships to Curry's 4, 3 MVPs to Curry's 2. So his accolades are a little bit better. But I have never, nor will I ever, see a player change the game of basketball like Steph Curry did ever again in my life. Like, you can go to like your local park and watch any kid play basketball, and you can see exactly what he's done to the game. Everyone wants to be a 3-point shooter now. I mean, you look at it even in like NBA games sometimes where it's a 3-on-1 fast break and the guy will take a 3-pointer instead of going. Before that would never happen.
Well, I agree. I mean, he's changed the college game. You look at Alabama's system. Alabama's system is literally all 5 Steph Currys out there chucking up threes from everywhere there is on the court. So I mean, I think the way Steph's transcended the game and made everything different, and the fact that they still, he's been doing this for almost 10 years. He was drafted 10 years ago, and he's still doing this, and nobody can stop him yet. I mean, like, he's really transcended the game, man. I mean, he's still got, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years left, maybe more.
I think he got drafted in like 2009, right?
No, he was drafted in. Was he drafted in 2009?
Yeah, because I was gonna say he had like 9 All-Star games or 8 All-Star appearances. So,
I mean, do you not think he's gonna? How many years do you think he's got left?
So, years as an All-Star player or years left? Because I think those are 2 different things. Because he's one of those players that I can see having like a Jason Kidd or Steve Nash type of, or like Chris Paul, where their game ages very well, in my opinion, because they don't rely on being super athletic and they're smart basketball players. So he can still have a role as like a bench player or whatever, like is just running the offense, not scoring as much till he's like late 30s, shoot even 40 maybe if he wants to.
He's 32 now, I believe.
34.
34, gosh. I mean, does he have? I mean, how many more full seasons do you think he has?
Like, I'd say 5 at least, like including him, like potentially not being an All-Star necessarily.
Okay,
I'd say he can make it to 39 easily.
I think, but I mean, you still see Chris Paul starting, and Chris Paul is still very good at times,
right?
So I think he's. I mean, he's heads and tails better than Chris Paul. So I would definitely see him going 5 more years, and I think at least 3 or 4 of those are All-Star years. He's going to tie Magic. He's going to probably surpass Magic, at least with All-Star games, possibly with MVPs. I don't know, with Luka and guys like that in the league.
Well, at least with All-Star games is a hard ask because I think Magic has 12 and Steph has 8, so it'd be 4 more.
It's going to be close.
I could see him having like a LeBron where even the years where he's not necessarily an All-Star, he makes it just off of name recognition, though.
Right. And I think that he could very likely finish with I want to say 2 more championships. It's just going to depend on how the Warriors draft and how they develop. I don't think Clay's got much longer left.
Right.
Just because he's injury prone and he's struggled with injuries.
But that's the thing about Clay as well, is I think that he also has a type of game where he's going to be a valuable player, even if he's not a star for a long time. Like, he's not going to be a valuable player at the contract that he has right now, but 3-and-D players will always have a role. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you look at even Andre Iguodala's, like, his decrepit body still has a valuable role in the team as like a mentor. So, I don't know.
Be interesting to see. I think they can get at least one more championship out of this team.
Yeah. And people kind of talk about it ad nauseum, but they have a bunch of young players already that if they can keep, like Jordan Poole, right? You have Andrew Wiggins is only 27, so he's still got a while. James Wiseman, and then Jonathan Kuminga, and even Moses Moody. So and obviously it's not a guarantee that all of them are going to develop any better, but
it does. Here's a question before we talk about the games. And I would love to see this happen. At the same time, I will be very upset it happens in a way. Does LeBron play with Curry for 1 year before he retires?
I feel like the whole thing about him wanting to play with his son, I feel like is more likely, because the only way that LeBron plays with Curry is if LeBron goes to Golden State. Steph Curry will never leave the Warriors. Like, there's zero shot. He is Mr. Warrior. He will be a career Warrior forever. He said he wants to be a career Warrior. It'd be insane to trade him even if he's 45 and awful. They'll still let him. It's like an Albert Pujols, like Yadier Molina type thing.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
you let them be bad as long as you want. For everything they gave your franchise, you let them be bad for as long as they want.
I agree, and I think that's what will happen. But I would not be surprised if, LeBron is not very good at staying in the same team very long.
Right.
The first sign of danger, he's going to leave. So I don't know if he'll even be back in LA next year.
See, the problem, the biggest problem with that is that LeBron makes a lot of money. So he would have to take like a Tom Brady deal where he takes significantly less money than he's worth just to play with good players.
And he's not going to do that.
Right. When why would he? I don't think he'll want to play with Steph that much. I think, honestly, he goes the other route and he just signs like a fat contract with whoever drafts his son, right? Because whoever drafts Bronny, someone will draft Bronny in the second round just to get a year or two of LeBron. That's my bold prediction because he said he wants to play with him. So I think that he's setting himself up to be a free agent that year and will sign a contract with whoever. So someone will take a flyer on Bronny even if he doesn't make the team, just so that LeBron will go there.
How long is it before Bronny is able?
3 years, 2 years if they take away the eligibility, I think. I think he's
so at this point, Bronny going in my head where who's going to have a excuse me, I would think he goes pretty high.
Right. I think he has an offer from Duke.
I don't think he'll take that.
Bronny? I think he's a 4-star. Like, he's the number 4 shooting guard in the nation. I think it's kind of like an Arch Manning situation where he's not that good and it's like name recognition, but still he's the number 34 player in the 2023 class. Like,
yeah, I think Bron will go. I think LeBron will end up playing with him somewhere like Oklahoma City or Detroit or something like that.
Wherever
he ends up. A good matchup. Cade Cunningham with LeBron would be fun.
LeBron with anyone would be fun. Let's be real.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he gets in bold prediction time.
Okay.
I don't think LeBron wins another title, at least in LA.
Yeah, I think they got incredibly fortunate. I'm not going to go like the whole Mickey Mouse ring, but like the stars aligned pretty perfectly for them to even win the one in LA. And he, like, Lay GM is such a meme, right? That LeBron like builds the teams around him. He did an awful job with the LA roster. I know it's not completely him, but he pushed for Russell Westbrook, and that turned out to be a disaster. Anthony Davis is made of glass, like he's Mr. Glass from the movie Glass, and then also like he just seems to have lost a step as well. I don't know if it's all the injuries taking a toll, but he was voted as a top 100 player, and he definitely did not look like that the last season or two. Top 100 player of all time, by the way, which is ridiculous.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I saw rumors today of Kyrie Irving being potentially pursued by the Lakers. I saw a lot of stuff. So in the NBA world, it's pretty interesting because there's a bunch of rumors coming out now that are bad mouthing Kyrie. Anytime that happens, it's a team like getting ready to cut ties with them. So I would not be surprised to see Brooklyn dump him, especially after the whole shenanigans he pulled last year. And also, interestingly enough, because of those shenanigans, they lost James Harden.
Yes.
Even if James Harden has struggled last year, like he's still a future Hall of Famer. So.
Yep.
I don't know. So you want to talk about the games?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, halfway in, we can finally talk about it. So game one, we were talking about it beforehand, but the Warriors were leading all game and then had a massive fourth quarter collapse. I'm talking, I think they were up 15 going into the fourth quarter, and they ended up losing by 12. So huge collapse. But Steph Curry had 34, and who was it on the Celtics? It was Al Horford. Had it.
Yeah, Al Horford went. Curry went for 34 in a loss. Al Horford had 26, 9 from 12 from field goal range. He was absolutely killing it, especially from three. And this is when I was texting the group. I don't know what. I think Steve Kerr forgot to game plan defense in the fourth quarter because there were so many. Like there was 2 times for sure I counted Al Horford getting open on the corner. And then it was just an awful defensive performance in the fourth quarter for the Warriors that ultimately got Boston back into it and letting them win.
Yeah, I do want to point out too. I heard a lot about. I closed one of my tabs.
You heard what?
I heard a lot from you guys about the Warriors' defense being awful and this and that. Four of the 6 games, they held the Celtics to less than 100 points. Like, you know how many times the Warriors got held to less than 100 points?
Like never.
0. Exactly. So
you don't hold this offense to under 100.
Right. I mean, they were close a couple of times, to be fair. It was like 103 was their lowest scoring game. But still. And so I think that, yeah, like you said, there was plenty of times where people are just being left open and open. And I saw something, it was like 80 or 90% of the Celtics shots that quarter were considered uncontested, which you just can't let that be happening in a finals game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But, I mean, you got to give credit where it's due. Golden State's always been that third quarter team. I don't know what it is. And then Boston weathered that by outscoring them 40-16 in the fourth quarter. You don't see that very often.
Funnily enough, the 1/3 quarter that the Warriors kind of struggled in was the series clinching game. I think that was the only third quarter they got outscored in.
Yeah, that's true.
But I remember after game one, everyone was like, "Oh, Al Horford Finals MVP, Al Horford Finals MVP, haha! How funny is it going to be when he wins it and Steph Curry doesn't?" And then he proceeded to not have like more than 5 points in a game or something.
No, he was.
He had 11.
He struggled. He played pretty good in the end of Game 6, trying to bring them back, but couldn't quite do that.
Right.
But then Sunday was much better for the Warriors. 107-88. Curry just missed 30 in that one. He finished with 29, 9 of 21 from 3-point or from field goal range, and then Jason Tatum. We'll probably talk about this in another episode, but I mean, Jason Tatum was not good to close it out, but I mean, Jason Tatum's going to be a star. He is a star.
I see. It's interesting because I think he had. I mean, yeah, obviously he's a star. He was first team All NBA this year. I think he had one of the worst finals performances by a star though I've seen in quite a long time. He like had the most turnovers ever in a playoff series. Only player to hit over 100 turnovers in a playoff, not a series. Sorry, like in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And like in all the important moments, he kind of sold a little bit. He was missing everything. In, I mean, I know he put up good numbers, but he took a lot of shots too. And especially like the final game, he went what 6 for 18 or something with 13
Yeah,
points.
he was struggling at the end, but I mean, at the same time, he's very young. He's younger than Steph was when he won his first title,
Right.
and he's young. He'll learn from mistakes. I still think he's gonna be a really really good player. He's already there, I think, but I think he's going to win him a finals soon.
Yeah, and I love Jason Tatum being from St. Louis. He's from St. Louis. You know, everyone around the area roots for him because we don't really have a basketball team. But I did think that whole Kobe thing was kind of weird. He like texted Kobe Bryant's phone. He was like, "I got you today." That was cringe.
Yeah.
After I saw that, I was like, I kind of hope he loses.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted him to lose anyway. But,
I mean, so did I.
Anyway, game 3.
Oh, sorry. Real quick, I was going to bring something up before game 3. So after game 6, our co-host, friend of the show, Joe, tweeted out, Jason Tatum isn't a superstar, as if that was some sort of like big thing, like controversial take. How many superstars do you think there are in the league? Who would you classify as a superstar? I counted in my head. I thought of 7.
I do agree with the concept of the tweet.
But superstar gets thrown around too much either way.
Well, I agree. I think your superstars, I think you can name them on 2 hands.
Yeah, I counted 7 when I went through my name. So you want to hear my list?
Curry, LeBron.
Yeah, KD. So Curry, LeBron, KD, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic.
I'm going to add 2 more to those. I'm going to add 1 more to that.
Okay.
Devin Booker.
Don't say Trae Young. No, Devin Booker is a star, but he's not a superstar yet. Especially after last year's finals performance.
I mean, I think I do agree with everyone you said, but I think there's going to be 3 names added to that list. I'm not Devin Booker. He's not one of them. I think anyway. There's going to be 3 names to add to your list in about 2 years. Ja Morant. Mm-hmm. I do think he's going to get there. Ja, Trae Young. I think Trae Young's problem is where he's at, not his talent. And I don't know who the third one. Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you said I have 1 to add, I was really hoping you weren't gonna add Trae Young right now because I could see it in a couple of years, but right now I don't think he's quite there.
No, I don't think he's there yet. I don't think. But I mean, at the same time, look where he plays. He plays in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's not a basketball market. They don't have talent around him. I mean,
I thought he had an extremely decent to good team around him.
I mean, they were not very good this year. Did you include Joel Embiid in your?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I was just being sure.
He was number 2 in MVP voting the last 2 years. I would hope he would include him. Right.
Where's Clay on that list? Has Clay ever been in a superstar realm?
No, I think honestly Clay is on the lower end of star. I think he's very, very elite role player to tail end of star. But let me put it this way: you build a team around Clay, you're not going to go super far.
Agreed.
That's the way I see it. He's like Chris Middleton, where he's an all-star. Yeah. He's a good player. He's a great number 3, number 2 option, but he's not like a number 1 star even.
Okay, I can go along with that. Paul George.
He has to.
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I think, deserve recognition. Kawhi especially, but at the same time, Kawhi, I think, I will say, I'm going to throw this out there. Kawhi is great, but he's also the most overrated player in the league.
I think Anthony Davis, but then Kawhi is a close second.
Kawhi is very close. Agree. Here's a fun fact, Tyler. I know you know this one, but I'm going to throw it out there. If not for Kawhi Leonard, LeBron would have 1 less championship. Think about that one for a moment.
if not for Kawhi, LeBron would have won less
Kawhi.
championships.
So go back to the Game 6 when.
Or are you saying one more?
One less.
He'd have one less championship.
Go back to 2000 and the year that Ray Allen, the same game Ray Allen hits his corner three.
Right. Oh yeah, Kawhi missed a free throw.
Kawhi missed a free throw. I think it was either before that or in overtime.
No, it was right before that because I watched the clip the other day.
Kawhi missed a free throw that would have
Kawaii. That's like anime. It's Kawhi. Kawaii.
That's the strangest man. And without Kawhi never has a championship without Curry without Clay going down.
Yeah, I mean I agree with that. Well, I think KD was bigger,
but
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, wait. What do you mean Kawhi never has a championship? He won like 3 with the Spurs.
I'm so okay. Never mind. I'm thinking.
Hold on. Did you forget he was on the Spurs with Tim Duncan?
I'm thinking Kyle Lowry.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking Kyle Lowry in the back of my mind. And,
no, you're fine.
But I don't think he's a superstar. I don't think Paul George is a superstar. Westbrook thinks he's superstar.
Was a superstar at one point.
There's one player we forgot to. I think you may have intentionally omitted this guy, but I didn't, and I think he should be on the list.
Let's say Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard.
I knew you were going to say Damian Lillard. I think 3 years ago I wouldn't have questioned it, but the last 2 years he's been like hurt off and on, has had not great years, and that's the only reason I left him off. I think that he is a superstar like level talent, if that makes sense, but he has to play like it. Same with Kawhi and like Paul George. They have to, or like Anthony Davis. They all have the potential to be superstars. They just got to play like it and stay healthy. I guess I only won 1 championship with the Spurs. I'm looking right now. That's crazy.
Staying on the superstar level, let me ask you this.
Okay.
You look at your guys like Draymond. 2 guys come to my mind right now that are probably the best. I'm going to say they're 2. I mean, I'm biased on this because I like the Warriors.
Right.
The 2 best players on defense this last year were Draymond Green and Herb Jones. That's just my thought. Like Herb Jones was exceptional on defense.
Okay.
I mean, let's just use like those 2 for example. Those guys do not score well at all. Those 2 guys are the last guys on the floor that I want touching the ball. But
I think that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Can a defensive only player be a superstar?
I think that you can't be a superstar because for me, superstar is like you can build a franchise around this guy, right? And you can build a good team around a defensive player, but you have to put scores around him. Any of the 7 players I listed, superstars, are players that will single-handedly win you games. Draymond's not going to single-handedly win you a game. He will significantly help, but he's going to require people to score for him. And I think Herb could get there. I mean, Herb's offense has honestly gotten better every year.
Yeah, I agree. I think same with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is just good. It's just downright good both sides. But
right.
I mean, defensively, you're not going to find many better.
And one thing about the superstars too is that I think that they're good at both ends, and I think that oftentimes they're underrated a little bit. Like you look at Steph, you think, "Oh, is he good at both ends?" But if you watch him in the finals, he defensively was doing great, and he's not the best defender, but he's a dang solid defender. I think Luka, of all the people I listed, is probably the worst defender, and that's just he makes up for that by scoring 30 plus a night. So
I agree.
But one other thing too, before we're only on game 3, we keep getting distracted. Pop quiz, hot shot. What team drafted Kawhi Leonard? Yeah, I know what you want to say, but the fact that I'm asking this question,
it's not the Spurs.
It's not the Spurs.
I want to think Detroit.
No, it was the Indiana Pacers drafted him, and they traded him on draft night. Kind of like, I think the Hornets did that with Kobe Bryant.
They did.
Or maybe, I can't remember if the Hornets traded him or if the Lakers had the rights to that pick. and like they picked for him. But
Interesting. Yeah, I did not know that.
yeah, he got traded to the Spurs along with the rights to Davis Bertans actually in exchange for
Interesting.
George Hill. Bertans was actually solid on the Spurs. Anyway. All right, game 3. Celtics first game in Boston. After taking the home court advantage in game 1, they go back and do the business at TD Garden.
Yes.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both had 26, and Marcus Smart had 24. Like the 3 Celtics players combined for almost 80 points. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was in this series, and this was every game except the game 5, I believe. The Warriors were awful. They were like great in the third, terrible in the fourth.
Right.
11 points in the fourth quarter in game 3. That was the difference because they really got back into it in the third, and they just couldn't close it out. And Boston ends up taking the lead. And I thought in this game, this was just I thought at the moment this was the defining moment in the series. I thought like this is gonna end. This is it because like Boston had all the momentum. Mm-hmm. They were scoring at will on the Warriors defense, and and what was frustrating for me is the fact that Steph was scoring 30 points a game in the finals, and they still were not winning.
Yeah. As much as, like I said, I was hyping up Draymond Green, he scored 2 points that game. And Jordan Poole, who's supposed to be like their big, bench scorer, scored 10. And I will say this about Jordan Poole. Everyone's hyping him up, and I mean, rightfully so. He looked really good at times. He still needs to develop. Like, he relies too much on being really fast. And when you're playing against a team like Boston that has fast guys or like really lanky guys like Robert Williams that can just block all your shots, being fast isn't enough. Like, he needs to develop counters and stuff, but he's only like 22, so I'm not worried. Like, he's younger than me, which is sad to think about. But yeah, this is the game that you guys a minute into the game texted that the game was over, and it annoyed me to no end. And then I started muting the group chats for basketball. The Warriors actually took the lead at one point. They ended up losing, but obviously,
game 4. I think this ultimately was the deciding factor. Game 4.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry, 43 points, 14 of 26 from field goal range, en route to the 107-97 win, and a great third quarter when Boston was up at half.
Mm-hmm.
A great third and fourth quarter. This is when I think Boston or Golden State really put themselves back in the series and evened it up. 43 points in the finals game. I don't care who you are. That's very good.
Right. And I think that was the game where as soon as it was over, people were like, okay, no matter what happens the rest of the game, Steph Curry's winning his finals MVP if they win. And so,
yeah, I agree. And that ultimately was it.
And hey, Draymond Green, another 2 points that game. Like you said, he had 9 rebounds, 8 assists. So he contributes in ways that aren't like filling up the stat sheet, but 2 points, like that's, I think, like you said, what's keeping him from being the next level of player. He's just your average garden variety first ballot Hall of Famer, but he could be.
Totally. He's a very typical Tom Izzo player. Let me put it like that. He's a very typical Tom Izzo player. I mean, you don't see Tom Izzo teams winning by scoring 80 points. You see them winning by holding the opposing teams to 50 points.
Right.
And, he's a Michigan State guy if I've ever seen one. I mean, I cannot name you one Michigan State player in the pros, in the NBA, that scores a lot. But I can name you multiple that are defensive players, guys like Draymond Green.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
I mean, is he a scoring guy or is he a defensive?
It's like their second option. So.
I mean,
I don't know. He's just the first name I thought of, and he was the only other one I could name. There's what was it? Cassius Winston is like the third string point guard on the Wizards now. But so yeah, game 4. This is the Andrew Wiggins game. Andrew Wiggins had 26.
17 points.
No, 26. I think you're looking at the wrong game.
You're at game
or game 5. Sorry, we're on to game 5. We did game 4. That was Steph Curry's 40
on game 5 because I'm sitting here looking at it.
Yeah, game 5. Andrew Wiggins.
This is the game I thought Andrew Wiggins could actually steal the MVP. I don't know if Joe said it or you said it. One of y'all said it, and I was driving back. I was at the casino that night. I went to watch the casino. I was driving back and reading it, and I kind of thought, I kind of agreed. If Ken did that 26-point night, kind of pull a Niggy and managed to steal MVP from Curry when they closed it out, but.
No, not after Steph dropped 43.
Yeah, that's true.
I think anyone that was saying that is just traumatized by the Andre Iguodala Finals MVP. Honestly,
I mean, he deserved that. You can't deny that.
Right.
But this stat line though, 26 rebounds or 26 would be a lot of rebounds.
That would be. That's
26
Kevon Looney numbers.
Do what?
So that's Kevon Looney numbers against the Grizzlies.
26 points, 13 rebounds. What a stat line that for him, especially for Wiggins, especially. And a huge game 4 or game 5 win when Steph Curry was really struggling. 0 for 9. Steph was 0 for 9 from 3 in this game.
First career playoff game, he didn't make a 3.
I know. That's crazy. And they still won. Like, if you had told me going on to the night, Steph's going to go 0 from 3 for the first time ever, like, I guarantee you they don't win the game.
Yeah, they would have got boat raced.
But Andrew Wiggins was very, very good in this game. They did blow a big lead. I don't know what it was with the Warriors with blowing leads in this series, but they did blow a huge lead, went down by 1, and then Andrew Wiggins. And can we talk about the fact that Jordan Poole, we forgot to mention this earlier, Jordan Poole had multiple half-court buzzer beaters in this series. Like,
oh my God. Yeah, the one that was huge for momentum. Like, that killed all the momentum the Celtics had because they're making a big comeback and then banked it in.
Jordan Poole was very good in this series. Like, the whole Warriors team in the end was very good in this series.
Right. And in game 6, we kind of talked about everything from this already. Jason Tatum really struggled. We didn't really talk about him that much, but Jaylen Brown had a solid series. Like, he was stepping up whenever Tatum was struggling, and he was.
He did. I mean, they just couldn't step up enough in the end to ultimately win it.
Yeah, and Steph had 34.
Boston. Here's one thing I noticed about Boston, and I was saying this in a group message I'm in with some Boston friends, that look at the job that Emi Udoka has done. Like, I think he's heads or tails better than Brad Stevens.
And this is his first year as the coach, right?
I think Brad Stevens is a great GM or whatever. I think he's GM now, right?
Yeah, he's the general manager.
And he's going to do a great job moving people around and getting that organization, getting players in. But I think him stepping away from the head coaching role was crucial because he just wasn't built for that, I don't think. Ime Udoka, I mean, he learned under Greg Popovich. Of course, he's going to be good. I mean, but the job he's done for Boston was really good. Here's a question for you, though. And I know you're going to get me on this one because of what I said last week in the group chat, but where do you rank Steve Kerr among coaches, all-time coaches now? I think I'm going to get your answer first.
I think he's top 5, at least. I mean, I'm not thinking about coaches at all. I mean, you have Phil Jackson. You have oh my God, why can't I think of the name? Greg Popovich, obviously. I mean, those are like 1A, 1B. I think you can make an argument for either of them. I tend to lean Popovich, but also I'm probably biased because I've watched Popovich's teams dominate. And then
I put Popovich 1, Phil at 2. Phil did have Michael Jordan.
And then he also had didn't he have the Kobe Bryant Lakers and stuff too?
He did. And here's the thing to remember. One thing that I always hear is about Curry is that, Kerr had Steph Curry. Well, Steph Curry,
kind of put that team together.
The Warriors, Steve Curry is the reason. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. Steve Curry is the reason Steph Curry is what he is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I I misspoke a little bit. He didn't really put the team together because I guess Mark Jackson was the coach when Steph Curry and all of them were drafted. But he allowed Steph Curry to be Steph Curry. Like any other coach, you see some of those shots that Steph Curry shooting would have pulled him. And like I think the epitome of that was that one shot against the Clippers where like Steph Curry dribbles around in circles and takes like a step back three over Blake Griffin and sinks it. And you can see the sideline reaction of Steve Kerr going like, and then he makes it and he goes, all right, whatever. You know.
Well, I think that I think Steve Kerr is also a very good developer of talent because you look at guys like Jordan Poole.
Right.
And I think the biggest evidence of that is Gary Payton. Gary Payton could not fit in on a team anywhere. And then he comes on to the Warriors and he's a good 6th, 7th man. And I feel like Steve Kerr is a very good developer of talent, especially when he can run his system. And I think he's top. I would put him 3rd, honestly. I mean, 4 NBA titles.
Pat Riley's also pretty interesting one.
Pat Riley too. Eric Spoelstra's top 5, I think.
I'm looking at a list right now. I actually really like Eric Spoelstra as well, and I think that he's kept the team consistent for so long, and was the only coach that's ever been able to like work with LeBron and not have LeBron be the coach, if that makes sense. Like he's the only coach it seems that LeBron's ever respected.
Yeah.
But this list has Red Auerbach at number 2, but I do not count like early accomplishments. That sounds kind of bad, but I don't think they count the same as like doing it in the modern era. When winning 8 titles in a row from 59 to 66 is really easy because there was like 12 teams in the league. And
I think I also think that list, if you're looking at Steve Kerr's top 5 on that list.
Right. So I don't think. Yeah, Larry Brown, Lenny Wilkes, Chuck Daly, Rudy Tom Donovan. Yeah, Steve Kerr's not even on this list. Oh, this is from 2008. Why did this get pulled? What the heck?
What was the list I look at that Steve Kerr was top 5?
Right. Steve Kerr wasn't even like a coach at that point.
When he was an announcer on 2K.
Right. And also like maybe the GM of the Suns. He was the GM of the Suns for a while.
Was he?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, but it was like 1 or 2 years.
Interesting.
Let me look what years it was real quick.
I did not know Steve. I don't know how I missed that, but I knew he was like an announcer on 2K for the longest. That's how I knew who he was.
Yeah, from 2007 to 2010. He was the GM of the Suns.
Interesting.
But he stepped down in 2010. I don't know if it was directly related to this, but in like a month prior, he compared an Arizona immigration law to Nazi Germany and faced a lot of backlash about that and then stepped down as the GM like a month later.
That is very Steve Kerr. Well, I like. But I mean, as a head coach, I mean, goodness, his record speaks for itself.
Right. He just wins. And I mean, they had one bad season, but that was literally like they were playing with people that are almost all out of the league now, like exactly. 2 years ago. One last thing I want to bring up because I know we want to do 45 minutes, but Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year, but he was kind of getting cooked all series, and it leads me to question, like, is he overrated? What happened? Is Steph just that good? A little bit of both?
I think it's the fact that the Warriors were just really good. I mean, he didn't get cooked anywhere else. I think it's just the Warriors' offense is that good. It's like you can't fire your defensive coordinator for struggling against Bryce Young or Mac Jones. I mean, sometimes you're just going to face talent that's better than you no matter how good you are.
Especially like when the game is an offensive game. Like in most sports,
right? And especially you're also. I think one thing about the NBA is, I feel like the East, you're Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, or is more of a defensive part side of the league. The West is more offensive. That's one thing I've kind of noticed.
Except the Warriors, who were the statistical second best defense in the league behind the Celtics this year.
Which is so weird to me because it's just so what that's
They
just
don't
stat.
seem like that, right? Like they
No,
just
it's just like Alabama football. When you score 50 to 60 points a game, your defense doesn't look as good because they never get off the field. I mean,
right.
a 53 to 35 win, you look at just the 35, that looks awful. But when you look at the offensive numbers and the fact that the defense never got to sit down because the offense wouldn't stop scoring, I think that's why.
I think too a big part of it is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson being so good at what they do, and then having Jordan Poole or whoever the third scorer is. They can rotate in three scorers and then have Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green or Gary Payton in there and just clamping up 2 to 3 players at any given time. So
right.
And I mean, in Andrew Wiggins' case too, he can score as well. So having players that are really good at defense, but then also being able to put they have a really balanced lineup, I guess is what I'm saying in too many words, and that allows them to be such a good defense. But Marcus Smart, I think that he only won Defensive Player of the Year because Draymond Green was hurt so much, and they didn't want to give it to Rudy Gobert for a fourth time. So he's good, but also he flops. He's one of the biggest floppers I think I've ever seen in my life. There's a game, I think in the game clinching, or the series clinching game, excuse me, there was one play where Steph Curry came off a screen and Marcus Smart hit the screen and went flying, and then Steph Curry stepped back and then held the ball for a second, just kind of looked at him, and then drained a 3 to go up by 10 points, and then it was just over.
Yep. Well, before we close, I got a hot take for you, Tyler. I think I might have said this in a group message. I meant to if I did not. Non-sports related take here. I'm gonna start doing this every show. Top Gun is a top 2. The new Top Gun is a top 3 movie of all time.
That is an extremely hot take. There are a lot of good movies, my friend.
But I'm just saying, Top Gun 2 is better than Top Gun 1.
I'll agree with that.
Top Gun original was already a top movie, a top 30 movie of all time. I didn't like the ending, the whole ending thing. I've wished I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. Never mind.
For Top Gun 1 or Top Gun 2? You're not going to spoil
Top Gun 2. I did not like the ending.
Oh,
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody because I just saw it the other day. But Top 2, I didn't like the way the last mission went. But still, that is was a very good movie. I'll take that back. Top 10 of all time.
See, even then, I think that there's a lot of movies. I think that's just recency bias, in my opinion. But
okay, what are your top 3 movies of all time?
Top 3 of all time is such a loaded question. And also I will say I think there's a difference between top 3 movies of all time and my top favorite movies of all time. Right? I think I can get enjoyment out of a movie that's objectively not as good. That being said, my favorite movie to watch was probably Batman: The Dark Knight. The one with
the last Batman was so good.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm trying to think of what my go-to movies would be. I don't really have any go-to movies. I used to watch. I watched The Chronicles of Narnia 100 times as a kid.
I don't like. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the best one of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously.
And I think that was the highest rated.
Yeah, it got bad after the first one.
I do think there is a movie I'm going to watch tonight that I have not seen. This is probably a hot take that I have not seen this, and I'm going to get off after this and go watch this. I have never seen Silence of the Lambs.
See, I hadn't for the longest time either. That's a good movie. I've never seen The Godfather. I have seen that one. I haven't seen The Godfather, which is when people get mad.
I have not seen The Godfathers either. I need to watch that one. I'm just for me, I'm uncultured when it comes to movies. I'm not
right. I can tell because you put Top Gun in the top 3 movies of all time.
But at the same time, here's my thing. This goes back to sports and everything. Before we close out, you and Joe know me well enough to know this already. If something doesn't start off good, I assume it's bad.
Right.
Like, if a movie does not start off within the first 5 minutes, if it starts off boring as hell, I don't think it's going to be good. It's just the same with sports. Like, if Alabama comes out and goes down 14-0, I'm like, this game's over. I'm done. When in reality, we're going to come back and win 63-14.
Right.
That's the same with the movies.
Yeah. 2 minutes into Top Gun, no one's got shot down. Clack's texting me saying, "Oh, it's over. This movie's bad."
I did say that about the first one. I did say something in the group about the first one. I don't know what it was.
You said something about Goose in the first one.
I don't know what it was. But anyway, guys, it's been fun. It's good to be back. We'll see y'all again probably
whenever.
Next
I'm not going to be
Monday.
here Thursday, so it'll probably be next Monday.
I've got assignments and stuff. Well, next Monday is July the 4th. Well, no, next Monday is not July the 4th.
Yeah, that's Sunday.
I'm not sure about next week. I've got assignments due next Monday, so we'll see.
Play it by ear.
We'll see y'all when we see y'all.
Yeah, I'll have my top 3 to top 5 movies of all time. I'm really going to sit on this question.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Yep, thanks for watching. See you.